We're picking up from where Letecia claims Gannon tells her he loves her more often. This answer is in response to the FBI agent asking her what her disagreements with Gannon were like.
I love you, or like, you know, like, I mean, like, the holiday might come, you know, they just say, oh, stress, something, whatever. But like, since having him all the time, it became more of like, I would hear, I love you, like, all the time, you know, and so I feel like it was on
the holiday, the Christmas before. Is that what you're saying? He disappeared?
You what now?
When you said around the holiday, he was saying, I love you.
Her choice of words matter. She says, I was hearing I love you, not he was saying. Note she says this was around the holidays. We learned earlier that the holidays were a sore spot. Around the holidays, Gannon wanted his mother, Landon. Letecia was jealous of Landon. What Letecia is telling the agent here is what she wants everyone to believe, that she was a wonderful and beloved mother and wife.
I'm saying like once we started more and more having, then he and I became a lot closer because of just like wanting to have that connection with both the kids.
Surely you had some arguments with him, though. Did you ever have to discipline him, or no?
Well, I never spanked any of the children, never. Because I just don't believe in spanking other people's kids.
She's the one who brings up spanking. He said discipline. She brings up a moral belief. She states a reason for why she didn't do the thing he never asked her if she did. This is about convincing him and portraying herself in a likable way. She wants his approval. She says she doesn't believe in spanking other people's kids. This is not about who the kids are in their own right as vulnerable human beings, but about who those kids belong to. And remember, she'd said, I didn't hurt my child. It's clear that she doesn't see Gannon as her child.
So we never had that. Now, as far as like, okay, you are in trouble, you're going to do this. Yeah, that's any kid with any of them.
What's the biggest disagreement you had with Gannon?
The biggest disagreement? Probably because he doesn't. And again, he probably shouldn't have this on him as a kid, but not like seeing the light. How he couldn't go home. He was so like, you know, kind of like forgiving. It's okay, Mommy don't have money. You know, if I said anything like, well, and I probably shouldn't have, but I did, I would be like, well, she quit doing this. She could pay for it, and I would always figure out a way. But then it was like, you know, I'd say I wanted him to see that.
Was this a certain incident?
Do I know?
The biggest disagreement you had, was this a certain time? Or
no, we never had like big, like there was never any like big all out.
Finally, she answers a question. It's not the kind of response the agent expected, and she does it in a way to make Gannon seem stupid, according to her worldview anyway. Her big problem with Gannon is he wouldn't see the light. He was understanding of his mother. He loved his mother. An 11-year-old boy loved his mother. But to Letecia, that was a grave sin. This is such a huge thing. Somebody could write a book about this aspect alone. She is also admitting here that she tried to alienate Gannon from his mother.
When you say disagreement, like clashes or like screaming, shouting?
Well, I'm a parent, so I've had mine.
You mean
disagreements,
like
yelling at the kid.
Like that kind of disagreement, but never not like a...
So what's the most upset you've been with Gannon?
Where we've like...
Where you've had to yell, and I've had to yell at my kids.
I got you, I see what you're saying. So like where we've had to like fuss at each other over whether or not he did something, if he did something or
that
not.
has to happen if you're a parent.
Right.
I'm not judging you.
I thought you were asking me like...
No, I'm more looking at this from Gannon's point of view. I'm not judging you.
No, I thought you were asking me more of like, you know, like whippings or like switches or like or like something like that.
So
No.
what's the most intense time you've had with Gannon, as far as you're yelling, he's yelling, that sort of thing? That has to have happened, especially with that kid.
I mean, yeah, of course.
So what time do you remember?
Probably times that, I don't remember specific times, I say all revolved around Albert, like, not being disciplined, disciplinary enough.
When Gannon was just doing something that's totally irrational and unreasonable. I have a boy, I know.
Yeah.
They don't behave all the time.
Right.
So what did Gannon...
I don't know of any, like, specifics. I just know that we would have. You know, like, if it would have been something that wasn't in what our teachings were, we would have, of course, like, yelled
So
at
you
each
never
other.
had to yell at him that you remember?
I just said that to you. I said there have been plenty of times.
Yeah, but I mean a specific one.
Gannon wouldn't, like, yell back. Gannon would not, like, yell back and be, like, like, confrontational. So Gannon would not, like, he might say something smart.
Well, how did he react?
Under his breath.
Do you have an incident you remember, or no?
No.
And you had to put your foot down and say, Gannon, that's not acceptable.
No, like, if I said that, he pretty much listened to what I said.
Yeah.
It was, like, not, I don't remember him screaming back at me at any
Or just going to his room, slamming the door,
situation.
anything like that?
Slamming the door, room. Me? Maybe more so me, like, saying something that Albert might have been more of if there was slamming doors or anything. Could have been like going back to Albert, you need to make sure he's not doing this, and then, go from there in that situation.
Okay.
Like Albert was teaching him how to use a box cutter and, like, different things like that. And there were times that I might have been like, oh, Albert, I don't think you should have done this because he was acting weird in this way. But that would have been early in the beginning before we started getting into, like, counseling.
Note, Letecia brings up the box cutter and mentions she didn't think Gannon should be allowed to use it, but Albert was the one to allow it. The agent didn't ask any question that should have elicited this specific piece of information. Letecia has used the box cutter story to preemptively explain the presence of Gannon's blood. What she's doing here is to inject a little tidbit of information that will make her story about that more believable and blame Albert. She is a practiced deceiver. I purposely used the word deceiver here instead of liar.
But once he started getting, like...
Now remind me, the counseling, what was that for?
Do what now?
The counseling?
So Albert said that he should get counseling through the military just for, like, all the transitions and being, like, in and out of school and, like, all the different things like that, just to make sure that his mental, like well-being was fine. And Albert said that anytime he would, of course, counselors can't tell you, what was going on unless it was something, pressing. And, of course, Albert would always come out and say that everything's fine, and then Gannon would come back and tell us what he talked about.
She brings up the fact that the counselor couldn't disclose what Gannon talked about, and Albert wasn't pressing for the information. He was saying everything was fine, but Gannon would disclose everything he talked about. What do you want to bet she forced Gannon to disclose? That she did whatever was necessary to try to control what Gannon talked to the counselor about.
But as far as, like...
Did Gannon ever come at you with a knife or something? Wasn't there an incident?
Well, that's what I was just telling you about. There was when I told you Albert was trying to teach him how to use
That's the box cutter thing?
Cutter, yeah. So Gannon had this thing about the knife, and he was doing like this, and whoever told you that it was coming at me, that is not.
That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah,
I'm getting the real story here.
No. You've got stories from everywhere, and you probably are not looking at me for mine, but that is not what happened. Gannon was in a upset, which the video was shown to the counselor lady, and Albert was so upset because he was like, you should have let me get the video or something like that. But Gannon was in more of like an upset rage because this was in the very beginning when he had to first transition to yet another school.
Was this fall?
No, so this would have been, I don't know if it would have been fall, but okay, so 4th grade, new school, home school, Then they went to the first school in Colorado, and then a new school opened.
Correct.
So it was somewhere between that time frame of, again, it was too much transition for him. That had nothing to do with him being mad at me or being mad at Albert or Landon or whatever. It was too much transitions for him that he was so upset. Like,
Well, where was he when he was doing this? Was he in his room, in the
I feel
garage?
like it was in the kitchen. I don't really remember. Ask me something that was a while ago. I don't remember.
Yeah.
She says the police got stories from everywhere and aren't looking at Letecia for her story. It's a subtle dig she throws in and then just rolls along. It's yet another grievance of hers. She wants her story to be the final say, her story to be the one people accept. This incident was so alarming that they took Gannon for counseling, and there was even video of it, allegedly. Yet, she doesn't remember where he was when it happened. How was this video taken? Was this a camera that was already set up? Or did somebody stand there taking video of him during this concerning, alarming incident?
I mean...
Were you threatened by Gannon doing that? Did it make you nervous?
Well, I told Albert, I said it has a mentality. Like, in my mind, I said it has a mentality of, like, he's going to want to not hurt himself, or not just specifically hurt someone in general, but specific, but in general. And so, like, I was a little worried because I thought he had so much anger and aggression for what was going on. Because it honestly was, Albert hadn't even got there yet, I feel like. Albert had just either got to Colorado or hadn't got there yet.
Right.
And so he had to go from him and his mom back to me, and then Albert wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was, okay, like, I got to start new school, I got to make new friends, like all those things.
How did you handle it? How did you calm him down?
He was typically always...
I'm specifically with the box cutter thing. How did you calm him down?
I don't know if it was a knife he had then. I was just saying, he had been using a box cutter, so that's how I was teaching him. Okay. So I remember I took his amiibo. He loves amiibos. And I took his amiibo, and I just threw his amiibo out the front yard. And I told him, I was like, the amiibo's gone, we're never getting it again. And I made him call his mom. Mm-hmm. And so I don't remember what we exactly said, but I know she was basically saying, like, you better listen. She gets upset and sends me a message. I send her a message back, and we were both, like, mad at each other, as in me and Landon. And then it was kind of more of like, okay, it's calm down. But this was a year ago, mm-hmm. So that was the gist of that. It was, he needed that outlet. Okay. He needed that counseling.
Well, that helps us.
Albert wasn't there. You can't count on anything about this situation being as she claims or even as it appears. She says, I don't know if it was a knife he had then. She doesn't know where it happened, and now she doesn't even know whether or not it was a knife? Come on. In describing how she responded, she describes herself in such a rage that she throws his thing out into the yard. In her explanation of her reaction, she does indicate she's admitting something. So she knows it was wrong, but she acts like her reaction is understandable and no big deal. She contacts Landon after this incident, and instead of merely informing Landon or co-parenting, she ends up fighting with Landon. Landon is a consistent sore spot for her. This just keeps popping up. Watch her body language in this next section.
Sir, it's so hard because... I'm sorry.
I'm old, but don't call me.
John. It's so hard because if I get up in the morning and Gannon would even say, you want me to take the dogs out so you can have 10 more minutes of sleep? And I convinced him into changing my name. Mm-hmm. So I had to go on board of, like, calling me a different name. I didn't ever like my original name, so I had to go to calling me a different name. So the helpfulness.
Instead of simply saying Gannon knocked over a candle, she launches into reasoning, brings up that hike again and gives too many details that weren't asked for. As she launches into this story, the agent tilts his head to one side. He realizes what he's getting here, and he's watching her. I know people get frustrated watching him let her go on, but he's doing a good job. He knows exactly what she's doing, because he's seen it 1,000 times before. Notice when she says, "I had told Gannon," she looks away and thinks for a second to get straight what she's going to say. She pauses, and he says, not only to encourage her to talk, but to apply subtle pressure here to move her along. There are times to shut up and let them think, times to not afford them that, and times to interject or apply pressure on a specific point. He knows what he's doing.
The candle incident. Can you tell me about that?
Okay, so Gannon wanted to, I don't remember if he wanted to stay up 30 minutes. I can't remember. There was something he did that allowed him to earn some extra time. There was something he did. But Albert had grounded him from playing a Switch. So he wasn't allowed to, play a Switch or whatever. He was only allowed to, he wanted to watch a movie.
Right.
Well, on the hike earlier that day, he was so helpful with me. People think he was sick and he's still whatever, but I have serious stomach issues and still have to operate. But he was so helpful with taking care of the dogs and stuff. And I had told Gannon that, so that Sunday. So,
I remember that.
So we sat around and, we had before we left, we were on the sofa and I'm just crying. He didn't know who that was. He knew the name, but not growing up in my generation to know who that was. So we just sat there and talked about it. And I told him, Kobe had and started relating in the terms of being like me, I have all sisters. And so, we were talking about that. And in between some of those questions might have been certain questions that led to what he was asking me about what went on school in the scene, in the talk.
Right.
And so that led into on the hike that day about what we talked about. So then that evening, I don't remember what he did, but I remember I said he had 30 minutes of something extra. And I knew it wasn't his Nintendo or things like that at the time because he wasn't supposed to earn that back until the next day. And so then we had, I think I was upstairs, Lena probably wasn't there. Probably had to work. Probably had to work until, I think it was and then Gannon had, what was he doing? He was doing something, I don't remember. So I go back upstairs, then I hear the machine was saying, beep, 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 is someone coming in the house?
Okay.
So I put the code in thinking, so why is the alarm thing off? Open, or none of that stuff. No doors open. So then I go back where Lena was at, and I see she was faking sleeping, but not really. And then, but she had the cover over her head a little bit, and so she was doing whatever. And so then I hear the thing saying fire.
Did it actually say fire?
It said fire.
Okay.
So that was the crazy thing because I never had heard. I didn't know what. I thought it would just be like that.
Right, like a siren.
But I don't know if it was the detector thing saying fire or if it was the actual. But it was just fire, 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 whatever. So then I run back in there and I look and I don't see anything, I don't see anything that look downstairs and I don't see anything. And it was still going. So I grabbed Lena. I'm going to tell you exactly wrong, but I'm pretty sure I grabbed Lena first. And I grabbed the dog. Things of how it went. Don't quote me on that. But I'm sure it was in that order somehow. Yeah. And we run out to the truck, I feel like. Either I open the door. I don't remember. Somehow they get to the truck.
Okay.
And then I run back downstairs because at this point I already know I'm up there. And so I run back downstairs. And we're back downstairs, and Deanna was awake, but not awake. How you can almost be asleep, but not asleep type thing. And
so in his bed?
No. He wasn't in his bed.
Where was
He was on the sofa.
on the sofa?
Right. So, he was on the sofa. And so, like, when I pull the cover, I pull Gannon with the cover. And so at this point in time, then I put the fire that's out.
So what did the fire look like?
It wasn't like huge.
Where was it? In the carpet? On the sofa?
I feel like it was on like one of the covers.
On the covers? Was the cover on the sofa though, or was it on the floor?
I don't remember. I just remember it was in a small location. It wasn't a big enough fire to.
What color was it? Do you remember? Was it yellow, red, orange?
I don't remember. It wasn't in a color to like.
Because I think what blue burns the hottest, and then you have stuff. If stuff gets involved in the fire, you have a yellowish or reddish color.
I don't remember.
Don't remember?
I don't remember.
Can you show me how tall it was? Like, do you remember?
It wasn't tall.
Wasn't tall.
I don't feel like it was that tall. I mean, but my tallest might be different. I don't want to.
Still, a fire's going to freak you out.
Right. Yeah. So when I pull the cover, I pull him with the cover too, and we run out.
Did you put out the fire or no?
I know that we took the covers, both of us. When he sees what's going on, we took the covers and like we smashed down on it. Yeah, because my honest thought was oxygen, put it out.
Right.
That was all I could think of. Put it out, whatever.
Did it take much? Sorry to interrupt. Did it take a lot to put it out or no? Or did you just smother it and then move? Or was it something in between?
Was there what now?
Something in between. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
Something in between?
Like in between, just it happened real quick, or you had to fight it for a while? Or?
Oh, it wasn't like fighting for a while. Like there was already a bunch of covers on the side that I had grabbed them all and put over here, which is why the whole thing was bottled with covers. Where they bring covers bottled everywhere. So it was like stuff there. And then I run, and he's running behind me. So I'm up, he like trips or whatever, but he's right behind me.
Mm-hmm.
So then I think I exit back out the garage, I feel like.
So the truck was in the garage?
No. It was out front. I'm saying, like, I think I exited back out the garage. Because I feel like I just ran back to that door. I'm not 100% positive. I know we ran out. Then Gannon runs right out behind me. And when I turned around and I'm saying something to him because I'm like, hey, because in my mind, I don't remember if I had gotten the dogs, even though I had already had grabbed the dogs. And so, like, I don't remember what we were saying, but we were all in a frame, whatever. He jumped in the passenger side, and I'm in the driver's side of the truck.
Okay.
Lena is in the back, and at that point, we drive off. So we drive off for, I don't know, a minute. We drive back, but there's no gas in the truck.
So was anybody burned from that?
So Gannon had...
You or Gannon?
Gannon had little burns on his arms from that. And then, but at the time, Gannon always lays with like his, either like his underwear on, or like something like that. So at the time when we ran out, I feel like, did he have a shirt? I don't remember if he grabbed a shirt or grabbed another cover. But I knew that he had some burns on his arm, but I know they weren't bad, like burns that were bad. They were just like, you can feel it or whatever.
Were they discolored then? Was it skin reddish, pinkish? What was it? Did you see it then? Or
no, it was not till later that I really like paid attention and should have been like, okay, well, because I did later on on it, but
okay.
So yeah, so like his arms, and then we get in the truck or whatever, and we drive off. So then we come back, and so I'm of course, and like I text Harley, I text Albert, what had happened, and I said, this is what happened. Tell Harley this is what happened. Don't panic when you come home. Because the house at this point in time we get back in smells like nothing but smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And so nothing but smoke at this point in time, and it was just like I couldn't get the smoke out. Even opening up the like windows and all these things, I couldn't get the smoke out. So that was.
So what happened with these covers that you used to put out the flame?
Well, the covers were either left there, because I remember getting some of the stuff and putting outside in the trash can, which I even showed the people when they got there that I put in the trash can.
Do you guys have singular trash cans for each house there, or just do you have a dumpster, or what?
Really, like it's a big trash. It's just a big brown trash.
One of the wheel ones you wheel out and put by the curb. Okay.
Yeah, it was just one of those. It wasn't. No one was like whatever, but we did want Albert. So like come home, not necessarily come home and leave for that, but we maybe like had updated a little bit to Albert because we were like thinking, like sad and whatever, like whatever. So in my message to Albert probably was a little bit like a little more over exaggeration, just because that was.
When you say we, did you talk with the kids about let's get Albert home?
No. We did sit down, and because when I was asking him, like, was this, did you do this on accident? Was this an accident? Whatever. And so we were just talking about, like the whole thing. Everybody was in one room. We were all in the bedroom at the time, which was our bedroom upstairs.
Okay.
So we were all in the bedroom upstairs, and talking and whatever. And I said, I got to let your daddy know. And then I was not going to tell him. That was the original thing. I was not to tell him. It was just to fix it and not tell him.
Mm-hmm.
Because then I was like, if I just do that, then we don't have to worry about it.
Right.
But then that was just enough to be like, oh, well, maybe Albert would be like, oh, because it was hard, always, all of us was there, going through all these memories and doing all these things without him, like being there. Whatever.
No, I get it.
So that was
so
hard.
Did Gannon agree that was a good idea to kind of play it up a little bit?
Did he agree?
Yeah.
We all were in like an agreement.
So how did you play it up? Was the fire really not that big, and you made it like it was a big deal? Or
well, so whenever
just to get Al to say, hey, maybe I should get back home.
When we were explaining it to people in general, like that was our whole like, oh my God, whatever. Like, I'm like, oh, you saw that like if the people that we messaged, we made it more like a situation, like than what it really was.
Yeah, because I couldn't understand how a candle could make a big fire, because my wife lights candles all the time around the house, and if you knocked them over, and if you knock it over, kind of nothing happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it might singe the carpet a little bit.
Yeah.
I've seen the pictures, and I'm surprised that, that much of the carpet was burned.
Well, it was probably because, I don't know, but I know that we did go, like, push down on the carpet, and it was on the cover, the cover was wrapped up on him.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know, like...
That's what I was just curious about, the burn itself on the carpet, because that looks awfully big for a candle.
I didn't even think that was even big. Was that really big?
Yeah, I mean, it's that big for a candle, because, like I said, my wife, we look like a church sometimes with all the candles she lights. Yeah. We have dogs running around with kids.
Yeah, no, it was...
I was just surprised a candle could make, a big black thing in the carpet that much. But it might have been held there for a little while. Yeah. Maybe he tried to set...
I don't know about... But see, the thing is, I don't know that Gannon would try to, like, purposely, like, set something on fire. I don't know. I know that he did tell me later that he thought that I was coming downstairs, and he was playing his game. So I don't know.
He was playing his game when he knocked the candle over?
Yeah, so he did tell us, he told me and Lena and all of us that when we were all talking together, he told us that he thought I was coming down the stairs, like, to catch him on his game. Whatever.
Oh, that's why he knocked it over.
I don't know. I don't know if he accidentally or thought, whatever. I just know he said that he thought.
But did he take any responsibility for knocking the candle over, or did it just say it happened, or what?
No, he did say that.
Okay.
He did say that he had done it, that he had started it or whatever. And I asked. That's why I kept asking him, like, did you do it on purpose?
That's what I'm curious about.
Or did you, was it an accident? He told me an accident. He thought I was coming downstairs. So, to me, sir, we could afford to buy another.
Yeah, for sure.
Sofa and another carpet. That's not a problem. Like, I mean, you're talking about like things that we had and nice things that we can afford to buy that. So that was not a point of contention, and Gannon very well would have known that too.
So did it burn? It burned the sofa also?
I don't think it burned the sofa. I'm just saying, like, in general in the area. whether if it would have burned sofa, TV, all that.
Right. Did he light the candle?
We could afford
Or who
to
lit
do
that
it.
candle? Do you know?
The candle was, he had already lit the candle because the dogs were, and so he had already lit the candle, which we
Does
allowed.
he normally do that?
Yeah, we allowed him to he could light the candle if he wanted to. He was allowed to open like packages that came. That's where I was telling Albert taught him how to use like the box cutter and stuff like that. He was allowed to do those type of things. As long as, you know, he was usually within reason, like, okay, I'm not going to go light, you know, like, or something like that. When I was little too, like I did the same thing about curious about matches, like that. But we had already given him enough of, you know, like safety talks about, like Albert, when he talked to him about using the box cutters and knives, he always showed him the right direction, you know, not to just go to like, cut them from boxes and stuff. So he had already had these, you know, talks about the correct way to do these things.
Well, it explains those two. So about the bath salts.
She says she doesn't know what order she did things in. She doesn't describe in as much detail where she was, how she got to Lena and the dogs, and how they got out to the truck. In this interview, she glosses over a whole lot of specifics that she did mention in her first interview. That Gannon was asleep is significant. If he's asleep, he can't knock over a candle several feet away. If he's asleep, he couldn't have been playing with his switch like she said before. When he asks about where the fire was, she says, "I feel like it was on the covers." She feels like she doesn't know, and the agent is now drilling for specifics. He's calm and polite, but this is still going to feel like pressure for her. He's not going to let her gloss over everything. Her tone and cadence change. She shrugs and leans back and says, "I don't remember." Her prepared narrative has been interrupted by a specific question, and she's not happy about that. When he asks her about the color of the fire and explains why he's asking, she puts her hands up in a beats me gesture and gives a half laugh to exhale some of her stress. And almost in resignation says, "I don't remember." She can't tell him how tall the fire was either. Before he can ask another pesky question, she launches back into her narrative. When he ponders aloud the issue of the burn on the carpet, she can hardly stay in her chair. She's claiming Gannon started the fire, neat trick considering he was sleeping, and that he said he did. She can claim anything she wants about him because he can't contradict her now. She brings up, "We could have bought another sofa," and lets the agent know that she understands that material things aren't what's important. She knows that's what she's supposed to say. We all know that's not the message she gave to Gannon, as she blamed him, ignored his burns, said they'd have to sell things, and suggested they would lose their home. She says he'd already lit the candle because the dogs were... and she doesn't finish the sentence. She's feeling the pressure. Every time she says something, this guy asks one of those pesky questions. She makes sure to explain that Gannon had been given safety talks. God forbid anyone think she wasn't prudent or that she bore any responsibility for the fire she set. Oops. I mean, the fire allegedly set by Gannon.
The candle, and now the foot injured in the garage. Tell me about that.
The foot injury.
Sorry, before I go there, so we don't forget, you said peeling these later.
I just remember that on Monday his arm had a little bit of peeling to it. And that's when I said in my mind, and like I told the earlier here, that I did at that point say, I probably should like think about if I need to, if later on after I put stuff on it, I need to think about if it gets worse, monitor the situation, like those type of things.
Did you put stuff on it or no?
Well, we had took that green yellow stuff and we had took and put the little, the dog had just had get bit before, so already had that little wrap stuff.
Okay.
And so we had already done that in that situation.
Did you put it on both arms?
I think it's on the right arm, I feel like.
And then when did you do that? Was that Sunday night, Monday morning, both?
I think it was Sunday night. No, actually it wasn't. It was through the night because we stayed up late. So it would have already been Monday morning hours, like into Monday morning hours.
So why were you guys up late?
Because we couldn't breathe. The smell was so like it's like stuck in the house from the smoke. We couldn't breathe, no matter what we did.
So where did you guys hang out until you could breathe?
We slept in our room, and then we opened all the windows downstairs.
Okay. And all four of you slept in?
So Lena, Harley, me, and him were in the room for a while. Then Gannon went to, yeah. So then Gannon went to Lena's room for a while, but then he was in his room by the time he woke up. So I don't know if he got open.
What time do you think you went to Lena's room? Was it after midnight?
Sure, I don't know.
When did you call him in sick? It was pretty early in the morning.
Well, what happened is all I did was I called and asked about his stomach. It was anything to do with the fire. My question was, I'd already given him Miralax, which was like,
Mm-hmm.
So we had a prescription, over the counter, I say, whatever it is, prescription Miralax, whatever
right.
it's a ring or whatever. And I'd already given him that. And so then I also had X-Lax. And I thought, at what point can I not, how much is enough, if I can't get him to pass this, at what point is there enough, or can I go ahead and do it like an enema? Albert can tell you, I've given him an enema before, and like things like that, because it gets so bad, and they're just so big, and they get clogged up. So that was the concern about how to get him to pass that.
Mm-hmm.
Because like for me, I have to I can drink 10 scoops of Miralax. And it won't affect me at all. Yeah. And so I didn't want it to be where it was. And then also, the combination is different in my stomach because, like I said, if I take 10 of them, I'm okay.
So he's having the squirts and he started having those in the hike, but he couldn't pass that whole evening. Is that right?
Right. He would get out, but couldn't get the whole thing out. And that was sometimes if he finally, and then when he finally gets one out,
wasn't it? Yeah.
For me, I lay in the bathroom and I'm in pain.
Yeah.
Whenever.
Was he telling you he was in pain?
Well, he sits on the toilet. His common thing is that he'll sit on the toilet and just sit there and sit there and sit there. So as long as he's got something to focus with, again, his pain tolerance is very high when it comes to just sitting there focusing.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he
spent a lot of time in the bathroom that evening, just sitting there.
Yeah, often on the bathroom. We got kids meals, but he came out and ate his kids meals. So better. So I assumed.
McDonald's or what?
No, we Carl's Jr.
Carl's Jr.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had originally said Burger King, but that's not Burger King right there. That's Carl's Jr.
Got it.
Carl's Jr.
Yeah.
Because I never go to Carl's Jr., but we got 2 kids meals, and I think I got something too. Lena went with me to go get it. So he ate the kids meals when we got back.
But he still hadn't passed. So.
Well, if he ate, he had done something. He had already used it some because he wouldn't have eaten.
And had you given the Miralax before the meal then?
I had already given Miralax throughout the week. We always had this thing where if I went in there and took one of my shots, of I say berries or something like that, he would take one too. So it was common for me to be like, okay, here, mix. And Albert would always say, go mix him up one of the drinks because we put in orange juice. Well, he didn't like juices as much unless it was like Kool-Aid juices. So it was a common thing to always try to give Miralax to regulate the system. But the problem is, if you don't take the Vyvanse, that you don't take it for a day, like he didn't take it on Saturday, because family was in town, and so you don't take it on Saturday, and if you don't take it on Sunday, that's when it starts to happen. So that's when the constipation and the diarrhea kind of comes in. So let's say if he would have took it Saturday, and let's say he would have took it Sunday, he wouldn't have been as bad. Right. But then the problem is, Albert always would want him not on it if we're going to go do a big time activity, because instead of having him zoned out I mean, you going down.
Yeah.
That was
The by-then stuff.
right.
Yeah.
And so, like, the thing was, if we go somewhere that requires him to have, like, things, then, that we don't want him to be under that finance and just have to be on his own.
Mm-hmm.
We want him to be, especially like on the hike, I wanted him to be able to, like, run around and do things. Because me and him were always on the top of all, like, if we had hiked, we were always on the top of hikes. We were always the one, like,
right.
leading, doing everything.
In a house supposedly so filled with smoke they couldn't breathe, and in the freezing cold because the windows were open, Gannon ends up in the basement on his own. She had previously stated she didn't call Gannon in sick. Now she's saying she did, and that she called an app. She states it had nothing to do with the fire. Note she is avoiding the question. The question is of when she called him in sick. It's an important point. If she called in before the morning, she would have to have had ESP to predict he'd have a tummy ache in the morning. She knew she was going to kill him the following day, and she needed to keep him home. She did notify her employer she wouldn't be in for several days, making up a story her stepfather was killed and she would need to travel. She already knew that she would finally be successful at killing Gannon the next day, no matter what, and she would need the time off in a way too many people wouldn't be looking for her. Notice she changes the subject here, trying to take him off the trail. But she creates for herself a dead-end trail. She goes on about laxatives, but he recognizes the failure of logic and says, so Gannon was having the squirts on the hike, but now he's clogged up and can't pass? She goes on to explain how Vyvanse affects Gannon, but what she describes is the opposite of what she'd told detectives previously.
So was he bleeding that night? Do you know? Rectally? Anally? Yeah.
So what happens is from him squeezing,
I'm trying to figure out, things are going on with him these last couple hours.
Yeah, so like from him squeezing and stuff like that, his does the same thing as mine does, and mine doesn't. So that's why I told you we're so much alike, and we could relate on that, because it was like, oh my gosh, your butt, just from squeezing and things like that. And that wasn't like pouring.
Okay, so it wasn't a copious amount.
Yeah.
Just because of him struggling with that all night, or that evening into the night. Yeah. You don't know when he eventually felt good? Or
how it works is he might feel good, and then he gets where it's hurting still until he gets it all out. It's not until he returns like 100% and being like, okay, I'm back to Gannon.
Did he get back to Gannon that night?
For Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was fine. I thought he earned extra time to be able to stay up and stuff.
Yeah, but I thought, was he not struggling with this after the candle incident?
Right. Like what happens is, I mean, if you want to call him a GI person, but he gets where he's okay, and then a little bit more okay, and a little bit more. They happen every once a month ish, where he goes through those episodes of his stomach, and mine does the same thing. No,
so when you guys were up in the bedroom, how was he?
You mean like after
the flame and fire and smoke?
He was upset and like crying because he thought he was going to lose his switch, like for a long time. Like he thought, that biggest thing was, I don't care, we'll just do whatever. I knew whatever. I would be quicker to cover up because we just related on the same page, more so than Lena, because Lena was kind of grabbing and sure, whatever. And it could be more of like, we can have a secret and talk and say.
Right.
Yeah. So I'd be more inclined. Don't tell anybody, we'll fix it. And so that was kind of like our conversation. what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was upset, like very, like upset and hurt and just trying to do whatever, but we also kind of just...
So how late do you think he stayed up with you in the room until he finally left?
I don't know.
Was it past midnight, or do you know?
I don't know.
But he left on his own.
I just want... So whenever he went to Lena's room, I think we walked down. I don't remember exactly, but I know all 4 of us couldn't fit in the bed plus 2 dogs. So at one point in time, we had to switch the whole. And I feel like at one point, Harley was sleeping on the sofa, and then Harley and Lena switched because we were up. Like I said, we couldn't breathe. It was very smoky. So we were all like. When Lena went to school, I'm pretty sure she probably went to school. Like exhausted.
Right.
Because
So Lena was real sleepy, but she went to school.
Yeah, like what I'm saying is when she woke up, she probably was like really, really like felt like she could have used a couple more hours.
Mm-hmm. So why did you call Gannon in sick and not her?
Well, she wasn't struggling with stomach problems. So
he still had him in the morning.
Right. So he wasn't. I even had messaged Albert through the night and said, "Hey, I asked him."
Mm-hmm.
Like I asked him, and they said, "Okay, it's Gannon things out." And so that was.
Yeah.
So he didn't respond because he was on a different time zone.
Well, you called in sick though too for your work.
She says Gannon ended up being fine on Sunday night. Oops. She just blew up her excuse for calling him in sick in advance. Do you see how smart this FBI agent is? He seems nonchalant in asking the question, but he has handed her a hammer and nails for her coffin, and she obliges him, all the while thinking she is smarter than he is. And he immediately circles back in asking, but didn't he have trouble after the candle incident? She says, right, like, oh crap, and she verbally staggers on. According to her, Gannon is not feeling well. They've just been through this fire. He's injured, scared, and very upset. Yet she does not know at what point or how he ended up alone in the cold, smoky basement.
What I did was, I said, I told Albert, I said, hey, I'll just stay at home. Zach or anyone. But the plan was, I wasn't going to go back. That was, the plan was, I was not going back to the country.
So starting, when was that a plan?
I don't know, like December, so I was just going to try to use the days, whatever, because I didn't want to.
Right. What did you tell your school as far as why you didn't show up that day?
For that day, I didn't talk to them about anything that day.
Your school, you didn't?
That
did you just not show? Or was your class was waiting on you? Or?
No. Okay, so what happened was I transitioned because I was like, okay, I wasn't going to be a teacher anymore. And I was like, okay, I have to do something until this, like, the whole flight attendant thing started. So I had to do something and just not have money or whatever. So I got on DSE. I would do a long-term sub position or the regular subbing position. And then I just, at that point, was going to just call in whenever I could work. I have it in my email.
Right.
I could just call in whenever I worked.
So were you scheduled to show up then Monday morning?
From the school that I wasn't going to work at anymore. I didn't even complete paperwork with them yet. So it wasn't even, I wasn't
They
even...
weren't counting on you to show up that day or working?
What do you mean? But I hadn't signed any contracts. I hadn't, done anything with them because the whole plan was I was not going to be teaching.
Okay. Yeah, I get you didn't sign contracts, but were they planning for you to come in to do something on Monday and you had to call in?
I never called in on Monday. I'd already told them.
Did you text down or something?
No, on Thursday or Friday, I'd already told them. Okay. on Thursday or Friday, I'd already told them that I wasn't coming in. I didn't go in Friday either. I'd already told them I wasn't. So it was like, you're asking me about if I told them Monday, but I'd already told them prior.
Or you'd already told them, so you didn't have to tell them you're not coming in on Monday.
Right, because I'd already told them because on my dad's side, there was someone who passed away. The prior week. So that's
On calling into work, she doesn't simply answer his question again. And she says she was just going to call in and tell them when she could work. Gleaning from her statement here and her previous statements, it looked like she was planning to leave that job anyway. And she'd had Harley quit her job too. And she told detectives she was going to be a flight attendant. She says she hadn't even filled out the paperwork for her job. Was there something in that paperwork that she couldn't provide, or that would have exposed her lies in respect to her supposed PhD, or something else related to her employment? Al would have been upset if she got fired, and if they'd already mentioned divorce, a job loss could be the last straw for him to leave her. If some disaster happened, then that would distract from a job loss. The timing and circumstance for this crime were perfect. She lies about whether or not she called or texted work. Her employer testified that Letecia sent her a text in the wee hours of the morning, claiming her stepfather was killed in an accident. Why lie about that if there's nothing to it? She's conscious of her guilt and afraid someone is going to clue in to her premeditation.
So tell me about the next morning. So now you're at home, Cannon's at home,
right.
Elena's at school. Tell me what happens now.
Right. So this is where I need help from everybody.
Yeah. And you can get help. Like I said, I've had some high-level informants that have told me some horrific things, and we've had to relocate them. We can get different names. But to do that, to kick that in motion, we need to know the story. We can't just say,
right.
Oh, someone got really important information.
Right. Well, that's where I would need someone to help guide me through this, because I want to help more than anything. But
that's why I'm here, because I'm representing Denver F.B.I.,
right.
And then I have the ability to pull resources from Quantico, which is our behavior analysis unit. Everything comes out of there.
Right.
It's called CERD, which is our Incident Response Group. So this was a big enough case that the supervisor of the FBI asked me to come down from Denver, and I get all my training out there. So you're not going to have better resources in this room right now. And I'm not bragging.
Right.
I've just been doing this stuff for a long time.
Right.
So if you tell me what happens and then you need protection, we can do all that stuff. So DEA doesn't have those capabilities, ATF doesn't. No. DEA just investigates drugs, and they're very good at it.
Right.
But the FBI, we're now worldwide, and we have offices Bogota to Russia to China to wherever.
Right.
So we get a lot more funding because when September 11th happened, that changed everything for us. We were the nation's #1 law enforcement agency before then, but they gave us so many more resources since then.
Right.
And so I am specialized in missing kids and unusual homicides, including serial killings and whatever else. So I didn't get in right away on your case, but I did. I have been working it for the past couple of weeks. Well, I'm here now, and whatever you tell me, the worst thing I can do for people like you is if you have a story that requires your protection for the FBI, it would not be good for me to run out and say, oh, Letecia told me this, and that's not how it works. If this can help us find Gannon, we'll do whatever we can. Okay?
Not I just need protection for.
Okay. Well, you can get that, but we have to know the story first.
So how am I supposed to get help talking to someone first before we talk to you. Because I'm willing to do that.
So here's your deal. If you need help, and if you want to go through the court process, that's fine. We leave, and then you work through the court process. But then it just becomes the whole focus of this, Letecia, right now you're the only one. You're the last one. You're the last adult with him. You're the last adult we know about with him. You have not told anybody anything else to lead us. We have been trying to work with Val to say, what does she say in that?
Yeah.
You know, and the Quincy Brown thing and whatever else.
I was mad at him about all that. But a lot of it was keys to help you guys. But it should have been. I could have just reached out to someone to be like terrified for myself. And it would have been. Also, what I can help you with can also help you with something else you might already recognize. I'm just saying,
Well, Letecia, you've got to give me something here to work with. If you want to go through the court process, like I said on here, the last question, if you want to stop at any time, you are more than welcome to stop and say.
But it says you can have one present to talk to you.
Yep. And that will kick in the court process, and then we're done, which is fine. And if that's what you want. Okay, but the whole, if you need protection and that sort of thing, I can't get you there without you giving me something. So I listened to all the calls with Al, and I've seen the crime scene reports. Mm-hmm. Okay, what happened in the bedroom was not Gannon slinging his blood on the wall.
Well, that's totally not even to do with anything. Yeah, that's why I'm so upset about bedrooms and all those things, because I understand you're an expert. I know that, but I'm telling you that I'm gonna need protection. That's it. It's not me. I'm not the person.
So, if you're not the person, the charges won't be different. Okay, if you allowed someone else to come in and do the things to Gannon that we know happened to him, you're just as guilty.
I didn't allow anyone, and I don't know of anything like you're talking about to be happening to Gannon. I do know that there's something I can tell you that can help you, or help me, help everyone. But help.
Well, so let me tell you where I am. Okay.
She is accustomed to being transactional, but in her world, the transaction is not equal. She gets the moon and the stars, while the other person gets crumbs. Now she's realizing that game won't work here. If she wants something from them, she's going to have to give something. Notice how quiet she has become, how much she shifts her body, how she hugs herself. In playing cat and mouse with the F.B.I, she thought she was the cat. It's dawning on her that she might be a mouse. She asks how she's going to get help by talking to someone first. She thought she could get away with taking from them and never giving them what they need to find Gannon. She's awfully quiet when he lays it out for her. Hey, you leave? You don't want to talk? Okay, go through court then. She physically moves away from him and faces him at this point. She uses the word terrified, an emotional word designed to elicit sympathy, but she's not speaking in a complete sentence. She wants him to believe the blood spatter on Gannon's walls has nothing to do with anything. He was born yesterday. And I know you're an expert, but please ignore everything you know. And again, she says she can help, but instead, she holds everyone hostage.
I've been 23 years with the F.B.I. For the last 20, I've been working violent crimes. And I've worked some of the worst cases, and it kind of messed me up a little bit, to be honest.
Right.
Seeing what I've seen. And I worked 20 years of bank robberies. Mm-hmm. So, for I always thought that you were going to have, I'm the FBI, I'm the good guy, bad people go rob banks. And that's not how it is. I've had to help arrest other FBI agents, police officers, people from the church, school resource officers. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side, some of the bank robbers, one of them came out after serving a 10-year sentence, and we had it off just fine, even though, you know, we were on opposite sides of the fence. The thing that I have seen, though, throughout is when something very bad happens, people think they can't recover from it. And I do not think you are a bad person. That's why I'm here. No, I don't. I've seen bad
and I know
people.
you told people that to get them to help you, but I'm not.
I would not have this approach with you if I thought you were a bad person. I think something bad happened. And I think that what I've seen a lot, it's whether it's you think that you can get out if you do this or this or this, that's where you are now. And you're hoping that one of these things can save you. They're not going to be able.
What do you mean? What were you talking about?
There was nobody else there. We've looked at the alarms, we've looked at the motions, we've looked at the detectors.
The alarms are already covered up.
The alarms were already covered
yes.
up. Okay. But
sir, I'm telling you, sir, what you have is not you. I know you say you wouldn't sit here and say this to me if I wasn't whatever. I'm telling you, it is true. I would not and did not. Would not, did not. And with you guys having my phone, I would have thought that you would have had some of the apps looked into. Now, I would have thought that sometimes when I talked to Albert and you might have listened to him or whatever, it could have been some help and indication. I really did. Because I couldn't come at you and just tell you if you say there's somebody not involved. I could walk you through it and prove it to you, and you guys have already had this predetermination. I don't mean you. I have the first time I spoke to you. You guys have already had this predetermination. That's what's going to happen. It's already in your mindset.
Yeah, because we have no other evidence pointing us elsewhere. Right. So if there was a shred of evidence, Letecia, that pointed us to some other person, we would be all over it. As soon as Quincy Brown came out of your mouth, it doesn't take long.
So, you know 100% he's in Mexico right now.
Yes, we do now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Because we did get our legal, we have what's called a legal attaché.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Where that alone, and I get that you're saying you have someone who looked into that and knows that, that's where I know in my heart that I can't trust to get help that very week.
You're saying Quincy Brown's
no, that's not what I'm saying. But you would have said another word, like something in between that would have gave that off. Like, you wouldn't have said he's just in Mexico and didn't do anything. You would have said, oh, did he come back here for a reason? You wouldn't have said any of that. You would have known some other things too. Or maybe you have and you just can't tell me those things. And that's okay. But
well, we don't, in a case like this, so tips will come in. Mm-hmm. You know, the public will call in. And then, of course, you and Al are primary interest because you're the parents of the missing kid. And 90% of the time, when a kid goes missing, it has to do with one of the parents. Mm-hmm. That's it. We work on probability.
Okay.
So, and especially with you, then, you're there, you say you went to a neighbor's house. Okay. That's the very first thing you say. And then there's no thought that somebody took him.
So there's no thought?
There's no thought for law enforcement.
But you don't understand what happened leading up to the days before. Nothing to do with Gannon, nothing to do with them, okay, in terms of me and Gannon. I love Gannon with all my heart. And so you can sit here and say 90% parents, this. Okay.
I'm not saying you don't love him.
I love him.
I'm saying that even I had times when my son rolled the basketball underneath that I wanted to turn around and do something, and then I would have regretted it later.
But what you're saying to me is, what you think is that I hurt Gannon.
And I don't think it was intentional.
Okay, but I didn't hurt Deanna. Okay, and I didn't either intentional or not intentional hurt Deanna. I did not. That's just not what happened. Okay, and I had this conversation with you just to see for a second if I could get help from you.
But you can. How can you expect me to help you, Letecia, if you're not going to tell me what happened? You can't go, let me tell you. You can unlock the entire resources of the FBI right now. I've told you that.
Letting her know she's not a bad person opens a door for her to be able to talk. She calls him sir, sucking up to him, then uses words designed to convince. I'm telling you. And then pretty much tells him the evidence is wrong and she is right. Then she makes her denial and then plays the subtle insult game. I would have thought you could figure this out. You obviously missed something important, and I can tell you what it is. Here, fishy, fishy, bite the bait. And she blames the police for why she has not told the truth, and for why she can't tell the truth now. In spite of everything she's doing, he gives her another escape hatch by suggesting maybe she hurt Gannon unintentionally. She doesn't take it. She's condescending to him in her tone and words. That's just not what happened, okay? Like he's 5 years old. When he says, you can unlock the resources of the FBI. Wow. If she is innocent, if she is being truthful, she suddenly has a great deal of power and resource. But we all know she's neither innocent nor truthful, and so does he.
But then you say that you're not willing to do it, whether you don't trust me or you think that there's these...
But you already told me someone wasn't there based on an alarm.
That's from what we can see. Yes,
okay.
Movement in the basement.
Right.
Movement upstairs.
But you've already told me that based on that, okay? But what you're not realizing is there's 2 sensors on that home, okay? Two that can easily be manipulated, easily, okay? And if you even knew anything about Pryor, you would be thinking a lot differently now. But see, that's why I can't talk to you about these things, because you already have predetermined what you think.
It doesn't matter what I predetermine.
But you said intentionally, unintentionally, and that's not the case.
I'm not saying I'm right 100% of the time. It doesn't, you need to just disregard whatever I think, or really whatever anybody else thinks. If you have a truth, and if you have something that will help us find him, really, the hell with me and everybody else and what we think. You should just cast that aside. All I can follow is the facts of the case as they're told to me. And so for me to go somewhere else besides the facts, I have to then go back to the facts to check it. So when I say something
I'll
like...
to you in private, but you can't tell Albert about anything that led up to it or anyone else.
Albert will not know any of this.
I understand that, but I need your help, and I need to know that you tell me there's resources, you tell me whatever, okay? I know you're saying you got whatever, this and that and all that, but I really am going to need help, like, a lot. Where do you? Don't base it on some alarm report, because they can easily manipulate it.
Well, we're not just...
They easily would. I know, I'm saying when you're saying no one else was there.
So
when you say that, don't base it on that, please. I'm begging you. Because that was not even remotely. It was not even.
She goes forward in a condescending manner to explain to him why he's wrong and how he just doesn't know. She believes she can outsmart the FBI. She still hasn't figured out she's not the cat, but the mouse. And she pretty much tells him she can't talk to him unless he thinks the way she wants him to think. You see, nothing will ever be good enough for her. But he comes back with the perfect answer. The one she cannot get around with her games. Truth and evidence. Immediately, She knows she has to try something different. And that's when she asks to see him in private. You know what she's pulling. He knows not to be in a room alone with her without being videotaped. I'll leave it here for now. There will be a part 3. Thank you for listening.